Okay, so ready to dive into some get-rich secrets.
Always up for that.
We're tackling the path to wealth this time around. A podcast promising a step-by-step guide to, well, not being broke.
16 episodes, catchy title. Gotta love the confidence.
But do they deliver? That's what we're here to figure out.
Right from the jump, episode 2, they're all about mindset. Think like the rich, they say.
Well, I've heard that before. Is there more to it?
They argue it's about truly embodying that millionaire mindset even before you see the millions.
Interesting. So, like, fake it till you make it for your brain.
Kinda. They say wealthy people view fear and risk totally differently.
Instead of freaking out, they're like, bring it on.
Exactly. They see it as part of the process, something to navigate, not avoid.
No more fear of investing, huh?
That'd be nice. It's like they think your thoughts can actually shape your reality, which, is a whole other conversation.
Right, but it's not just about positive thinking, is it? They get into some pretty specific habits too, don't they?
Totally. Episode 3 dives into routine big time. Waking up early, starting the market, that whole thing.
So they're saying anyone can be a millionaire if they just stick to a rigid schedule.
Well, it's more like they're saying success is a habit you gotta build.
Makes you wonder, is it really that simple?
Probably not that simple. But they're onto something with the consistent action part.
And this leads them to entrepreneurship as a key path to wealth, which, it makes sense on the surface.
Right. Building your own business gives you more control than a typical job.
But did they actually give any, practical advice on how to actually do that? Starting a business is scary.
They did, yeah. Episode 4 gets down to business, literally. They talk about identifying opportunities, testing ideas, even how to get customers in the door.
Okay, so not just motivational fluff then.
And they point out common pitfalls to avoid, which is super useful for anyone starting out.
So you're not just blindly leaping into the void. Gotta love some practical tips.
And it doesn't stop there. They're big on having multiple streams of income, too.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Not putting all your eggs in one basket and whatnot. Makes a lot of sense.
Especially in today's economy, right? It's like insurance against sudden changes.
But how do you actually create those extra income streams? That's the million-dollar question, right?
Well, episode 6 dives into investing, good old stocks, real estate.
The idea of money working for you while you sleep, right?
Passive income, the dream. But is it as easy as it sounds? Maybe not.
Definitely not. But I'm guessing they offered some strategies to at least get started.
They did. One that caught my attention was their focus on dividend-paying stocks.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who aren't Wall Street experts, what are those again?
Basically, stocks that pay you a portion of the company's profits just for owning them.
So it's like a little bonus on top of your investment? That's kind of cool.
It is cool, but it's not as simple as picking any random dividend stock and watching the cash roll in.
There's got to be a catch.
This is where their whole financial literacy thing comes in.
They seem really big on that, don't they?
Episode 7 is dedicated to it. They explain compound interest, risk management, the whole stock market shebang.
They basically want you to understand the rules before you play the game. Smart.
Because knowledge is power, right? And when it comes to your money, that's more important than ever.
For sure.
Yeah.
So they're not just saying, invest in this, do that. They're giving you the tools to make your own informed choices.
Which is a much more empowering approach.
100%.
Yeah.
It makes their advice way more impactful if you actually get what's going on behind the scenes.
It shows they're in it for the long game, and they want you to be too.
Okay, so we've got mindset, habits, entrepreneurship, even a bit of investing 101. They're building a pretty comprehensive picture here. I've got to give them that.
It's shaping up to be interesting, that's for sure.
But does it live up to the hype? Does the path to wealth actually lead to, wealth?
Let's find out. We've got a lot more ground to cover.
But it's not all about stocks and investments.
Huh?
They get into some other interesting stuff too. Like episode 7, they totally shift gears and start talking about networking.
Networking.
Yeah, that surprised me too.
I always thought it was all about working hard and investing wisely.
It's definitely part of it, for sure. But they make a good point about building those strong connections.
So it's like who you know matters as much as what you know.
Exactly. They talk about finding mentors, surrounding yourself with the right people. It's about opening doors you might not even know are there.
It's like that saying, your network is your net worth,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But even with a great network, smart investments, life happens,
Oh yeah, for sure. Nobody gets through life without a few curveballs.
And that's where episode 8 comes in. Staying rich, they call it.
Staying rich. So it's not a one and done kind of deal.
Apparently not. They say it takes just as much effort, maybe even more, to hold on to wealth as it does to build it in the first place.
Wow, okay. So no kicking back on a beach somewhere once you hit a certain number. Not according to them. They're all about protecting your assets, planning for the future, that whole long-term security thing.
Sounds a lot less glamorous than the whole get-rich-quick thing you see everywhere, huh?
Right. This is more like get rich and stay rich.
I like the sound of that better, honestly. More realistic.
And part of that, they say, is knowing how to use debt strategically.
Hold on, debt. I thought we were trying to get rid of debt.
Me too. But in episode 9, they actually make a case for using good debt to your advantage.
Good debt, bad debt.
Yeah,
It's a lot to keep track of.
right. They're talking about things like low-interest loans for investments, maybe to grow a business, stuff like that.
So it's not about being totally debt-free, it's about being smart about it.
Exactly. Using debt as a tool to build wealth instead of letting it hold you back.
Which kind of circles back to that passive income idea from before, doesn't it?
Totally. Episode 10, they're back at it with the whole make your money work for you even while you sleep thing.
Okay, so they really want us to figure out this passive income thing. Do they actually have any, new ideas for how to make it happen this time around?
They revisit some familiar stuff like those dividend stocks we talked about, rental properties, that kind of thing.
Right. Good reminders.
But they also talk about online businesses, which makes sense, right? The internet never sleeps.
True. You could be making money while you're literally sleeping. That's the dream. But I bet it takes a lot of work up front to get those systems running smoothly.
No doubt. They're very clear that building wealth takes time, effort, and often some money to get started.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, right?
Not usually. And that leads into episode 11, where they switch gears again and focus on time management.
Time management. Interesting. How does that fit into the whole wealth building thing?
They argue that wealthy people are really intentional with their time. It's a precious resource, so they focus on high-value tasks.
Makes sense. So are they saying we all need to become workaholics to get rich?
Not exactly. They talk about working smarter, not harder. It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing, and focusing on what actually moves you closer to your goals.
So instead of just grinding all the time, it's about being strategic. That sounds way more sustainable.
Definitely. And then they circle back to a familiar theme in episode 12, financial literacy.
They really want us to be financially savvy, don't they?
Right.
Why do they keep coming back to that?
Because knowledge is power. They argue that you can't make good decisions about your money if you don't really understand how it works.
True. It's like trying to play a game without knowing the rules.
Exactly. So they dive into things like compound interest again, risk management, and just the general mechanics of the market.
Basically, they're saying don't just take our word for it, learn this stuff yourself.
Exactly. Become an informed investor, an informed decision maker. That's their message.
I'm into it. Knowledge is power. But even when you know the rules, life still throws curveballs, right?
All the time. And they get into that in episode 13. It's all about overcoming setbacks and bouncing back stronger.
Ooh, I like that. Resilience is key.
For sure. They share stories of successful people who faced huge challenges, but found ways to overcome them.
So it's not just about what you know, but how you handle things when they go wrong.
Exactly. It's about having that grit, that determination to pick yourself back up and keep going.
This is starting to sound less like a financial guide and more like a life guide.
Right. And it gets even more interesting. In episode 14, they get into the power of giving.
Giving. Wait, I thought we were trying to get rich, not give it all away.
I know, it seems counterintuitive, right? But they're not talking about giving away everything.
Okay, good. Because I'm still trying to build my wealth here.
They argue that being generous, whether it's through charity or mentoring others, can actually contribute to your own success.
Now, that's unexpected. How does that work?
They believe it creates positive energy, attracts opportunities, and just builds stronger relationships overall.
Interesting. So it's like playing the long game, realizing that wealth isn't just about how much money you have in the bank.
Exactly. And that long-term thinking continues in episode 15, where they focus on building a legacy.
Legacy. They're not just talking about leaving money to your kids.
Well, they do touch on that, like setting up trusts and estate planning, generational wealth, they call it.
So it's about making sure your wealth has a positive impact for years to come.
Exactly. And they wrap up the whole series in episode 16 by bringing it all together. They really emphasize that the journey to wealth isn't a straight line. you know?
So after 16 episodes, they finally get to the point, huh?
Yeah, it's not about chasing those overnight riches. It's about building something that lasts.
For yourself, for future generations, the whole shebang.
Right. They want you to realize that financial well-being, it's not a finish line you cross, it's an ongoing journey.
And the choices you make today, they matter. They set you up for that long-term vision or not.
It's a good perspective to have, honestly.
It's refreshing. It's not just about chasing money, but building a life that feels secure, purposeful. It really got me thinking about that, I gotta say.
That's what we're here for. It's not about taking everything as gospel, but finding those bits of wisdom that resonate, you know?
Absolutely. And I think they gave us a lot to work with. From mindset, habits, all that, to networking, giving back.
They covered a lot of ground, that's for sure. And they didn't shy away from the stuff that's not as exciting to talk about.
Right. Managing debt, planning for the future.
Yeah.
Nobody loves those topics, but they're important.
They are. And they really hammered home the point that real wealth building, it's a long game, takes knowledge, discipline.
And a willingness to adapt, right? Because things change.
All the time. That's the only constant, probably.
True enough. You know, for me, the biggest takeaway was definitely the financial literacy piece.
Yeah, they kept coming back to that, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. If you don't understand how money works, how can you make smart choices about it?
You can't. It's like trying to navigate a city with no map, no sense of direction.
Perfect analogy. They want you to be in control, to make decisions that are right for you.
Exactly. It's your financial journey, you're the driver.
Love that. Okay, so the path to wealth maybe didn't give us the magic formula for instant riches,
No magic formula, unfortunately.
but they did give us a really interesting look at what it takes to build a life that's financially secure, right? And maybe that's more valuable in the long run.
Maybe it is. It's definitely more attainable, that's for sure.
Definitely a lot to think about. What about you? What really stuck with you from this deep dive?
You know, what I keep coming back to is that idea of aligning your financial goals with your values. It's not just about the money, it's about what you do with it, right?
Absolutely, it's about purpose. And they reminded us that it's a marathon, not a sprint. There will be bumps in the road.
Oh, for sure. But it's about having the resilience to bounce back, learn from those experiences, and just keep moving forward.
So for anyone listening who's feeling maybe a little overwhelmed by this whole wealth building thing,
It's a lot to take in.
it really is. But remember, you don't have to do everything at once. Start small, be consistent, and never stop learning.
Sound advice. Your future self will thank you.
Future self, present self, everyone wins. And that's a wrap on this deep dive.
Until next time.